The grocery receipt pauses halfway out of the machine, that familiar moment where the total finally shows. Evan stands there, bags already in hand, doing the quiet math again. Same items as last week, nothing extra. Somehow the number still lands higher, not shocking, just off enough to make the pause feel necessary. The card goes through, the receipt prints. Life keeps moving. But something about that moment sticks longer than it should. That same pause shows up everywhere. At the gas station, watching the numbers spin faster than expected. At the apartment mailbox, flipping through envelopes before even getting upstairs. At a coffee shop, hearing someone behind the counter sigh about slow business while another customer complains about prices. Friends mention working longer hours. A cousin talks about starting a side thing that never quite stabilizes. A neighbor says business is picking up but still worries about rent. Different lives, same tension. Everyone feels busy. Nobody feels settled. For a long time, all of that feels normal. Just part of being an adult. Then one day, something shifts. Not a big crisis. Just a regular Tuesday. A client payment lands later than promised. Rent is due anyway. Groceries still cost what they cost. Gas does not wait. That's when the confusion creeps in. The business is running. The work is getting done. Effort is there. Hope is there. So why does everything still feel like it could tip over any minute? Here's the thing. Hope works great for motivation. It does almost nothing for cash flow. That realization sneaks up quietly. Running a small business without systems is like driving with a gas gauge that sometimes works and sometimes guesses. One month looks fine. The next feels tight. Not because the work disappeared, but because the timing is off. Look at the numbers. A client owes $2,000. Sounds solid. Rent is $1,200. Utilities run about $250. Internet and phone hit another $180. Groceries land near $400. Gas floats around $150. Before that client payment even shows up, nearly $2,200 is already spoken for. Now, this is where it gets strange. Even when the payment arrives, it arrives after the stress. The bills come first, the money comes later. That gap is where anxiety lives. Here's what most people don't realize. A business can look profitable on paper and still feel broke in real life. Money does not arrive evenly. Expenses do. Bills have dates. Income has excuses. Late invoices. Delayed transfers. Clients saying next week. None of that is dramatic. It's just constant. Without systems, everything depends on memory, checking balances, and hoping nothing unexpected hits. And this keeps happening because the structure allows it. No one forces income to line up with expenses. Rent does not care about sales cycles. Electric companies do not wait for slow months. Credit cards happily fill the gap, charging for the favor later. The system rewards consistency, not effort. And most small businesses start with effort and optimism, not structure. Now someone might think the problem is not working hard enough, or charging too little, or picking the wrong clients. Sometimes those things matter, but often the real issue is simpler. Money comes in randomly. Money goes out on schedule. That mismatch turns normal months into stressful ones. Here's another misunderstanding. Growth fixes everything. More clients, more sales, more hustle. But without systems, growth just scales the chaos. 5 late payments instead of 2. Higher expenses without smoother timing. Bigger numbers, same stress. That's why being busy feels different from being stable. This is where it gets really interesting. The shift is not about becoming smarter or more disciplined. It's about noticing patterns. Rent hits on the first, utilities follow, groceries repeat weekly, gas refills twice a month. Income, meanwhile, floats. Once that pattern becomes clear, the stress stops feeling personal. It stops feeling like failure. It starts feeling mechanical. A system does not mean spreadsheets or fancy tools. Sometimes it's as basic as knowing exactly how much cash needs to be sitting there before the month even starts. If fixed costs total $2,200, then $2,200 is not money. It's already gone. Anything above that is breathing room. Without that mental line, every deposit feels larger than it actually is. That illusion creates risky decisions. Psychologically, hope fills gaps. Hope says next week will cover it. Systems say the math already decided. One leads to constant rechecking. The other leads to fewer surprises. Not comfort, just clarity. In the end, the realization lands quietly. The business never needed more optimism. Optimism was already there. What was missing was structure that matched how money actually moves. Once that becomes visible, the stress changes shape. Not gone, just explained. And somehow that explanation alone makes the weight feel more honest.